Hey, today I'm talking about the age of maturity of the planets. Now, most of the planets have an age of maturity, and honestly, I don't really put much stock in it. There's certain qualities that might resonate here and there, but I think it's one of those things that just doesn't have much, bearing on what I would say. However, the age of maturity of Rahu and Ketu is very different. And in fact, because Rahu, especially, is the one energy that is the most immature in our life, and it's the thing that we're trying to awaken from, I think this is why the age of maturity of the lunar nodes is a major overlooked factor in determining how we process them. So, for example, Rahu, it's said to mature at 42 and Ketu at 48. Now, again, it's a little tricky because they're the same phenomena. They're different aspects of the same thing. Of course, they're different because Rahu has a different energy than Ketu. But as part of the same axis, they implicate a dialectic, a dialogue, and a polarity in our life. But the reason this is such an important age of maturity is because with Rahu, it's actually the area of life that we incarnate in order to evolve and develop, because we haven't experienced much of that in our recent past lives. Rahu is literally the thing that is immature in us. We're literally trying to develop the house and sign and any planets conjoined Rahu in this lifetime. We're developing it at the next stage, at the next level. Now, for example, we could have a very powerful Rahu, let's say joined a very powerful planet in its own sign or something like that. For example, like joined an exalted planet. This means that that planet is already very developed, but we're experiencing it at the next level, even higher level. So let's say Rahu joined an exalted Saturn or something, right? Saturn in Libra or Saturn in Capricorn or something, and Rahu is joined, then that Saturn's already going to have a lot of intelligence, but Rahu is pushing it to the next level, right? So this is a deeper phenomena, and that's said to happen at 42, but then at 48, Ketu is said to mature. So that's interesting. Why would Ketu, which seems to be the things that we've already developed, because Ketu is the recent past lives and the things that we've already developed at quite a high level, how would that be? Why would that mature later at 48? Well, I think this is because Ketu is hidden and buried. Rahu is very obvious, it's external. We kind of throw all the spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks with Rahu. With Ketu, we have this illusion of certainty. We think we've already been there, done that, so we're an expert. Can't tell me anything about that. I know all about that thing. Because when I was raised, boy, that was blah, blah, blah. We did all that kind of stuff. Ketu has this experience that masks itself as God perfected knowledge, expertise. And it takes about 6 years longer for Ketu to mature, according to the classics. So I consider them both to be around 48, mid 40s to 50 or so. Because again, you have to look at other factors in the chart, but this is the age where we really start to mature and reconcile the confusing, opposite, false choice of the lunar nodes. It's a huge thing that we're trying to reconcile, and it also coincides with one of the big Rahu Ketu shifts. It coincides with the 2.5 nodal return that happens when Rahu in the sky goes over natal Ketu and vice versa in your chart. It happens around 48 So it's a huge thing to understand. And again, the other ages of maturity for the planets, I don't really put much stock in them because, again, they don't really make much sense. They seem quite arbitrary. I didn't even want to mention them here because then I'd have to sort of interpret them. It's not that I'm sure maybe there's some work that's been done, but I haven't because there's so many other things to say. But with the nodes, I really notice, okay, they're getting around that 2.5 return, and that's right around the time when the nodes mature. I've actually been doing a lot of readings on Rahu Ketu and releasing the serpent, I call it, and part of it is talking about that age of return, that age of maturity. So I'm also going to be talking about that, depending on when you're seeing this. I'm going to be talking about that this Sunday, January 21st, as part of one of my shock and awe classes that I'm teaching as I release the eclipse cycle, personal and global cycles of change. So you could check that out. But this is a very important thing to ponder, the lunar nodes and the age of maturity. 42 to 48, you're supposed to be reconciling the confusing polarity of the nodes. Oh, they're coming for us. They're coming for us. Have you reconciled that confusing polarity?